Good Thursday evening. How is everyone? What a difference 24 hours can make. And I don't mean that necessarily in a positive way, but I don't mean it in a negative way. I'm not going to get black pilled yet. That's not going to happen. And who am I to talk about all this? I am Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. It is good to see you, and it is good to be seen by you. I want to start this off on a positive note, on a hopeful note, and say that we should all remember we are what we have. Our hobby, our passion has only ever been as big and as strong as us. 49 years ago this month, TSR Hobbies, which lay in the basement of Gary Gygax's home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, started taking deliveries of original D&D sets. Gary said that they ordered 1,500 copies, and they thought that would last them a lifetime. They literally thought that TSR Hobbies would never sell out, that they would trickle down to a point where they just had a few that no one would buy and they'd move on to the next thing. As much fun as it was and as great as Gary thought it was, he thought maybe there were 1,500 people who would DM the game for 8 to 20 people each, and that would be it. They were gone by early March, all of them. At the first convention that wasn't Gen Con that TSR attended, they had people coming up with mimeographed copies and then early photocopied versions of the OD&D set. Some copied by hand, typed by typewriter. They received more inquiries about questions about the D&D rules than they had sold sets. We have always been Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons was not in an office in Lake Geneva. Once it left Gary's basement, it was ours. It wasn't in an office complex in Lake Geneva, and it sure as heck isn't in Renton, Washington. Dungeons and Dragons is ours. It survives or dies by what we do. And that's all Dungeons and Dragons. That's original D&D. That's Holmes Basic. That's Mulvey and Cook Basic. That's Frank Menzer Basic. That's the Rules Compendium Basic. That's first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That's second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That's third edition Dungeons and Dragons. That's 3.5 edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's fourth edition, it's Essentials, and it's fifth edition. It's us. But brothers and sisters, Wizards of the Coast thinks otherwise. They are trying to pry our hands open and take it away from us. What can we do? We can hang together. We can stay strong. They know. There is nothing as frightening as a herd of D&D dorks stampeding across the plains, irate over the tiniest perceived slight. They know that. That's why the hit piece from PBS came out. That's why the hit piece from PBS came out. It was put there to divide us. I will bet any of you a print on demand copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide that someone at Wizards of the Coast put PBS up to that hit piece because they knew what was about to happen this week. And they knew if we were a united front, they knew if we all stood together, this would go down like a lead balloon. So somebody probably placed a phone call. Ken Robinson, thank you for subscribing. I'm sorry, Robison. Not there. There's no N there. Robison. Well, there you go, Ken. You play and enjoy what you love. You play and enjoy what you love. My love is for first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Ignore this T-shirt. It's a gift. So we, you guys, me, that guy over there, that person there, all of us need to stick together. Because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if we don't hang together, we will all hang separately. And that's just the plain truth. Where we are now, we got to, because we let them do this to us. I think we believed that we had the OGL. We had it in our hands. Ironclad. Right in the palm of our hands. We had it. A little ball of depleted uranium, heavy and toxic. And we let it, we relaxed. We relaxed. And so this is where we find ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just state something unequivocally. I have been ecumenical. I have been tolerant. I have been polite, and I have been nice. Folks, Wizards of the Coast is the enemy. They are the enemy. They got in bed with PBS and said, all those guys over there and girls and whatever that won't toe the line, that keep playing 3.5, 4th, Essentials, Pathfinder, AD&D, Basic, Swords and Wizardry, Osric, paint them as monsters, demonize them, make it happen. Do I think it was anything so sinister? No, it was probably started with an exchange of emails. So here we are. They've come after us. They've come after us on two fronts. Now, you can be like a tiny nation in the middle of Europe in the 1930s fighting on two fronts and get squashed like a grape. Or you can be like the United States in the 1930s and 40s fighting on two fronts and do the squashing. What's going to happen remains to be seen. But I didn't come here just to preach doom and gloom. I had a faint hope that somebody would be on tonight to talk with me about this, but they couldn't make it. When I reached out to them, literally at the 11th hour, I was on my way out of the house when my phone blew up and people started pinging me. I got texts, I got notifications on Twitter and Facebook, no emails, but on social media, people said, look what's going on. I turned to someone and I said, please, please, please tell me you can be on the show tonight. Just let me know. Bad things are afoot. And they reached out back to me and said, what's going on? I linked them to the Gizmodo article. There was a long pause and they said, what time are you going to be on? But the glimmer of sunlight, not even a glimmer of sunlight, the light behind the clouds was they probably can't get away with this. And this person is in a position to know. And I'm not going to discuss it any further. I'm not going to be accused of putting words in their mouth, and I'm not going to be spreading false hope where there might not be any. But trust me, if you've ever trusted me, if you've stayed subbed to my channel because you find there is a verisimilitude that I have that you enjoy, then appreciate it and hold it in your cold, frozen fingers for the warmth it gives you when I say this person is in a position to know. And so when we have them on, I will let them speak for themselves. Things may change. They may not come into the show with a rosy, sunny disposition, and everything I'm saying to you now will turn to ashes. Or they and I will be sitting here virtually sharing drinks and cigars, and we'll all be laughing on the pack watch at WotC's failing. I hope it is the latter. I sincerely hope it's the latter. But we'll have to see. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're just tuning in, there were leaked sections of the OGL 1.1 from Wizards of the Coast today that have now been confirmed to be true. In the language, Wizards of the Coast is trying to rescind OGL 1.0. There are outrages in OGL 1.1, such as we reserve the right to completely take ownership of everything you create under the OGL, which is exactly precisely what TSR got up to in the mid-1990s when TSR looked out on the media landscape. There's a lot of language in there that I don't care about. I don't care if you are an artist and you create a Beholder NFT and you want to sell it for $1.7 million and Wizards of the Coast steps in and stops you, let me tell you something. I don't care about you. I don't care about you. NFTs are a grift. They're a tax dodge. That doesn't confront me. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Now, I want to talk about positive things. We're going to set this aside. Guys, there's too much supposition at this point, okay? The embers have not yet started to cool. It is too soon to go sifting through things. So we're going to set this aside unless you guys have specific questions that I think I can answer. And I will do my best to. But we're gonna talk about positive stuff. We're gonna talk about fun stuff. We started reading Dragon Magazine #1 last night. Who wants a deep dive? Who wants to continue on a deep dive about Dragon Magazine Volume 1, Issue 1? And who wants to continue the doom and gloom? Vince, I don't believe that. I don't think that they would take down. I don't think they would lean on YouTube and make YouTube take down channels like this. I don't. I honestly don't. You may be right. I'm not just gainsaying you. You may be right. I hope you aren't. Something else positive. This is a thing that has happened. Since the 30th of December, this channel has grown by almost 40 subs since the 30th of December. That's huge numbers for this channel, guys. We are sitting at 1,479 subs as of today. And on the 29th of December, we were at 1,443. That's not quite 40 subs. So, you know, I think that's pretty good. If you're new, if you've just come in, and so a bunch of you have just come in, because I literally, like, I got home, I started making tacos, and I looked in here and it was like at 1472 or something like that. And I jumped back out and continued making the tacos, and I came back and it was 1475. I was like, holy crap. And I went to the bathroom and I come back and it was at 1477. And I washed my hands. I went back in the kitchen and it was 1479. So it's dip, 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 dip. So my little channel is growing, growing, growing. The tacos were very good. I make good tacos, simple tacos. Just varied. It's just some seasoned ground beef, little bit of onion, a little bit of caramelized onion in there, and then just whatever you want on it. That's tacos. That's tacos Del Bill right there. People have shared my car ride video. Well, that's awesome, Rogue Scholar. Greetings, Rogue Scholar, and I hope you're feeling better, Rogue Scholar, all three of you. You know what? We're going to have fun. We're going to have my apologies to headphone listeners who are now nursing a burst eardrum with the clap there. Does the clap cause burst eardrums? I don't know. Somebody call up Susan and ask her if I can say the clap. Alrighty, we are going to look at Dragon Magazine Volume 1, Issue 1, Issue 1. Oh, and by the way, more positivity. I recorded the audio for Tales of Tabletop Triumph. Hey, if you're on our Discord, we now have a place where you can put your Tales of Tabletop Triumph. These are glory stories, not glory hole stories. Please don't send me any of those. These are tales from your tabletop of wondrous times when great things happened with the people you enjoy. And get descriptive, get elaborate. Don't say, Bob rolled a nat 20 and killed the dragon. It was cool. I want to hear about friendships made. I want to hear about game nights that became great, memorable events for things that not only happen in game, but out of game. So hit us up on the Discord and look at the 3 sections we have. There's a place for submissions, there's a place for just the posting of the stories, which I will do. Please don't post in there. I will put them up in the archive, but there's the place where you'll submit, and then there's a discussion zone where you can kind of workshop ideas and stories and that sort of thing. So I'm working, but I am in the process of editing the first video, and it will be out tomorrow. It'll be short. It'll only be 4 or 5 minutes, and won't be one of those 40-minute epics where, you know, that time we found out that our dungeon master was in fact a, many words I can't say on YouTube, and it ruined D&D for us forever. The Discord, Ken Robeson. Yes, we have a Discord. The Discord that you ask about. Now, attention, future people. This Discord is not valid after a week. So if you're here next month or whatever, then you can't, you won't be able to access it. But I update the server thing regularly, so just sniff around and ask, or ask down in the comments. I see the comments and respond to the comments. Speaking of comments, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're just stopping by, if the algorithm has promoted me to watchworthy, click that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, leave a comment on the video or any video. And yeah, you can, you know, you can expect a response from me. And if you don't like the video, tell us what you don't like about it, and I'll do my best to change it. I guess somebody didn't like it. We're back down to 1478. All the cool kids are discording. Absolutely. Thank you, Ken Robeson. Damn it, I'm gonna Robeson. Ken Robotusin. All right, so bold move, by the way, with a real name on YouTube. I do it too. I'm Bill Silly. You know what? I've said I'm going to do a 10,000 sub face conceal, so you guys won't be able to see what I look like anymore. So let's get cracking. Let's talk about Dragon Magazine. I gotta find this. Okay, there we go. Let's open that. So we looked at some of the ads. We talked about we read Fritz Leiber's very humorous and tongue-in-cheek Lankmar article where he actually asked Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser what they thought of D&D. Which was pretty good. So let's go. Let's jump into it. Now, I'm not going to linger too much on the next article, and I'm going to tell you why, because I don't have the game that it's based on, and I bet most of you guys don't either. But we're going to kind of take a look at it as a slice of what gaming was like back then. See, guys, I can't just get on here and bitch and scream about something I have no control over. I know you guys want more information about the No GL. That's it. You know what? Spread that hashtag. Hashtag NoGL. NOGL. Spread that. I feel you can. All right, so let's add to screen. So this is by Larry Smith. Have I ever told you the 5 stages of drinking? No, that's Larry Miller. The Battle of Five Armies, and this is presumably the Battle of Five Armies in miniature. This is an article on how to convert the Battle of Five Army game into a miniature war game. The rules used for this battle are modified from the chainmail rules by Gary Gygax. Some modifications will be listed at the end of the article, and then it goes into how to convert the board, the OOB for those, and it's done at a scale of 120 for the fighters, and the heroes are 1-to-1. That basically one miniature represents an entire stand of cavalry or infantrymen. NoGL, yes, NOGL, NoGL. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting information here for, you know, oh my gosh, one of these days we got to get Paul Stormberg back on the show, because Paul is a crack chainmail aficionado, and getting Paul in to talk about this would be very cool. Heading out, Dungeon Minister? That's a shame. We'll miss you, brother. Father. So it talks about how to set up units and so on and etc. But if you can find this PDF, and I recommend tracking it down, now you've got a use for all of those Lord of the Rings miniatures. You can buy the bucket full on eBay. And at the bottom of this article, there's an interesting, it's a comic strip, but it's really more of a clickbaity kind of thing, for lack of a better term. These two little cartoon characters. Well, Omar, what did you think of the trip from the strategic review to the dragon? It was a moving experience. Same old dungeon, though. Same walls, same ceilings, same rats, same bugs. By the way, did you remember to bring it? I've got it right here. Next issue, it. And again, I think that's just an advertisement, so sort of thing. So here is one of the first. Somebody is basically trying to propose a skill system into OD&D. Because remember, even though at this point Dragon Magazine has become a very slick, put together magazine, it's still just OD&D. This is mid 1976. The Monster Manual hasn't come out yet. D&D is still very much 3 little brown books and 5 equally small books and issues of the strategic review. So, how to use non-prime requisite character attributes by Wesley D. Ives. Whenever a player performs a non-ordinary task or attempts to do so, the referee is usually in a quandary how to determine fairly whether the character can perform the attempted action. Normally, the referee gives consideration to the player's attributes and then more or less wings it, attempting to be fair, usually giving the player a percentage chance of success. A more standardized system is needed, and the following guidelines should help considerably. Really, we'll be the judges of that. Whenever a player attempts some action which would tax his ability in any attribute. And this is a very simple system, as they all were back then. Ha ha. Generate a number from 1 to 100 and consult the table. Die roll 1 to 20. Always add the score in question to the 1 to 100 number achieved. 1 to 20, a 4-sided. 21 to 40, a 6-sided. 41 to 60, an 8-sided, 61 to 80, a 10-sided, 81 to 100, a 12-sided. Using the type of die called for, generate a number and multiply this number by the amount of the attribute being tested. This number is the percent chance of success. Example, consider Grodd the Fighter. Oh, may I? His scores are Strength 17, Intelligence 9, Wisdom 5, Constitution 14, Dex 14, Charisma 12. Die roll, 42 added to Grodd's Charisma equals 54. So Grodd rolls an 8-sided die, scoring a 7. Therefore, there's a 7 times 12, the score times Grodd's Charisma, or 84% chance that the minions will fight. How about this boulder? Die roll, 66. Added to Grodd's strength of 17 equals 83. Grodd rolls a 12-sided die as called for on the table, but this time his roll is a 3, so there's a 3 times 17, score times Grodd's strength, or 51% chance that he will be able to move the boulder away this turn. Special for fighters. Fighters with extraordinary strength use the following table in order to make their scores compatible. 1801 to 1820, 18, 21 to 40, 19, 41 to 80, 20, and so on up to 27 for your multiplier. So if Grodd had a strength score of 1887, he would have used 23 as his strength when determining his success with the boulder. Uses for attributes. Strength, any extraordinary physical exertion. Intelligence, discovering proper methods of operating all mechanical devices, including all magical devices, discerning patterns, deducing cause and effect, recognizing types of layers, learning new languages and skills, etc. Wisdom, divining correct path of action, recognizing functions of devices, etc. Constitution, all questions of stamina, swimming, running, staying awake, going hungry, etc. Dexterity, manual manipulation of devices. He may know what it does and how to make it work and still fumble when the time comes to use it. Balance and climbing, tying and untying knots, etc. Charisma, believability, persuasiveness, morale of followers, etc. Modifiers option per level. Add the increase in hit probability to their attribute score. Using this rule, Grodd, being a Myrmidon, would have added 4 to his charisma and strength before multiplying them by the die number. Per character type. Everyone should have the chance, for instance, of picking a lock. Oh, somebody didn't see the thieves' rules or didn't care. But since only thieves are specialists, then all others should only have their dexterity as the percent chance of success. Grodd's chances would then be 14 if using the modifier 18. For activities further from the character type's bailiwick, begin dividing the required number and multiplying the chance of backfire. For instance, Grodd attempts to operate a sensor of air elementals, normally only usable by magic users. There's a normal chance that Grodd will know what it is, but to use it, he would need to roll a 2% Grodd's intelligence divided by 4. Then there would likewise be only a 2% chance of maintaining control over the elemental once it was called out. Using the modifiers, Grodd chances would be increased to 3. Still not a very healthy set of odds. Greetings, Lord Kaz. If the character is attempting to learn a spell, first subtract the level of the spell from his percentage chance. That percentage is also the chance of not going insane upon failure. Luckstone's blessings, lodestones, and prayer. Luckstones and a clerical bless spell add 1 to all die rolls, whereas lodestones subtract 1 from all die rolls. Prayer is a lodestone to the other side, and there exist curses which do nothing but subtract 1 to 6 from every subsequent roll or the determination die, probably on the determination die. Everything else, you get the idea. It's almost like this guy just kind of gave up on it himself towards the end. Everything else, yeah, you get it. I would not use this system. I wouldn't use this in OD&D or AD&D. This seems very clunky, but if it worked for Wesley D. Ives at his table, well, God bless him. Ah, yes. Uh, Sounded like Will Smith on the YouTube Rewind from a few years ago. Ah! Magic and science, are they compatible in D&D? By James M. Ward. Let's see what Jim had to say. I believe it is a real mistake to think that just because there is a world created by D&D type thinking where magic and magical monsters exist, there's no room for technological type devices and all they imply. Many times while discussing rules with other judges and players, I have heard statements like magic and its use denies science and its uses. I myself usually loudly clamor that a lightning bolt wand is just a static electricity generator. Jim must have been a hoot at parties. Or many magical potions are simply advanced chemical formulae. But my words are usually swept away in the magic tide. Now, I know, Jim, I can poke a little bit of fun at him. In response to this, I created a race of people who had transported their island land Atlantis to another nearby dimension. This race, called Artificers, not so original as we thought, are you, Wadsey? Had a high degree of technology and are very aware of magic and have devices to counter any magical effect. I present some of their creations to those who have some players in their game that are too powerful and need a challenge. Jim apparently not happy with torque grenades being tossed around Greyhawk periodically. There are three powerful devices used all the time by the Artificers: a handheld weapon, much like a small catapult made of unbreakable crystal and spring steel, a mobile blue sphere, and a computer. The pistol shoots a 2-inch sphere for a maximum range of 50 yards. These spheres, only upon being released from the pistol, emit their stored power on contact. There are 6 different types, all color coded for easy identification. That's right, John Scott. Dragon number 1. We owe ourselves some fun today. We owe this to ourselves. We have a strong Canadian contingent here. A couple of people that my daughters know are Canadian, for example. Red sphere. Upon contact from this, emits a 15-foot circle of heat action so intense that it melts everything and anything in the area. No magic saving throw applicable. Black sphere. Upon contact from this, a 15-foot circle of disintegrating damage as the spell. Magic saving throw applicable for anything in the area. Clear sphere. A 15-foot circle of nullifying energy. This energy will destroy the usefulness of any magic item forever. No magic saving throw applicable. Man, Jim hates magic. Good Lord. Brown sphere. Ew. It emits an illusion of a vast maze. Those in that 15-foot circle must travel through this mental maze to free themselves of the effects. No magic saving throw applicable. Purple sphere. A 15-foot circle of death as the spell with a saving throw applicable. And a silver sphere. Upon contact, creates a wall of synthetic crystal with a resistance of a diamond to physical forces. The wall will go to a maximum height of 60 feet, length 120 feet, and thickness 10 feet. It will always fill any passage or space to the fullest possible extent. Well, good Lord, Jim. While hand weapons are useful, the normal artificers like their devices to fight for them and therefore created the blue sphere. This device comes in 3 sizes: the largest sphere having a diameter of 3 feet, the middle sphere having a diameter of 2 feet, and the smallest having a diameter of 1 foot. These are also badges of rank, since the smallest is the most powerful and only the highest ranking leaders use the smallest spheres. These spheres are able to shoot 2 beams while floating beside their master. These beams can be whatever its master needs at the time, in the way of attacking and defending abilities. Jim, people didn't want this in D&D because it's... So the largest 10 hit point damage absorber, a heat ray of 3 dice. That's 3d6, by the way. Whenever they just use the generic X number of dice, they mean d6s back in the old days. A healing ray, 3 points per melee round. A displacer ray, a 20-point damage shield. I have to be careful with these wine glasses, by the way. The middle sphere. 15 hit point damage absorber, a heat ray of 5 dice, a healing ray of 5 points per melee round, a displacer ray, 30-point damage shield, anti-magic shield, and a fear ray. Michael Connor, greetings. In the smallest sphere, 20 hit point damage absorber, a heat ray of 7 dice, restoration ray, displacer ray, 40-point damage shield, anti-magic shell, fear ray, anti-sphere ray, and charm monster ray. And then there's a description. The damage absorber, this ray will take the damage potential from a spell or weapon from its master if the ray is trained on the artificer at the instant the damage occurrence, with the limitation of only being able to take a maximum stated amount per melee turn. A heat ray, just that, healing ray, cure light wounds, displacer as the powers of the magical cloak. Damage shield, to prevent the sphere from being destroyed. This ray can stop harmful actions on itself at the maximum rate, with the only damage over 25 points. The sphere itself takes 25 points before being damaged, rather. Anti-magic shell per the ray. Fear ray, a sonic blast is a spell. Anti-sphere ray negates the effects of a pistol sphere or a blue sphere. Charm monster is a spell. Restoration completely regenerates any being dead or dying and always works if applied within 1 hour of death. The best way to negate a blue sphere is place it within an anti-magic shell, which will cut off its energy supply. When this happens, the sphere becomes useless forever. Finally, the most powerful of all the devices of the artificers is their mighty offensive and defensive analogic computer. We're going to have to go over to page 10. We're going to skip the section on languages. We might come back to it. Come on, we're on page 10. This device has a heat core as a power source and is able to analyze and counteract any spell sent in it. It can analyze up to 100 spells sent in it. Its primary form of attack is to analyze the hit points of its enemies and emit a double amount heat ray. These are used in the more sensitive areas of artificer strongholds. The computer's greatest weakness is its strict following of its program, which can allow more intelligent beings to use its logic to get around it. The possibilities and limitations of such a device should be obvious. This type of device can be made in varying strengths and forms and will present an unusual obstacle for the wargamer. The reader, I am sure, will note that while the above is in a scientific vein, its use can easily be put to a D&D campaign. Science does not have to be dull when little imagination is applied. May the tide of magical refutation not drown out these small words. So there's Jim. So we're not going to worry about the languages article just at the moment. Actually, I think we're going to take a crack at it because this is by Lee Gold, editor of Alarum's... Hold on. Drank that wine a little too fast. Editor of Alarums and Excursions, the D&D Amateur Press Association. Still is to this day, as far as I know. The rules lay down that each species has its own language, except for humans, most of whom can speak Common, as can 20% of the non-humans, as an extra tongue. Some of us can't speak it at all. In addition, each alignment has its own language, known to all its members and recognizable as such by all non-members. Creatures may speak several languages, either by virtue of their natural intelligence or by magic. Thus, an elf with intelligence 18 speaks 6 native languages, Orc, Hobgoblin, Gnoll, Elf common in his alignment, plus 8 acquired ones, 1 for each intelligence point over 10, while a human with an intelligence of 3 can speak only common in his alignment language and probably has a low vocabulary in both. Magic is useful in extending one's language ability. A cleric can acquire the ability to speak the language of any animal, and a first level spell has been proposed that would allow a third level thief or any magic user to taking it to speak any language which he has found an inscription in that he could read. The thief has an 80% ability to read languages. The magic user would have to carry the read languages spell in order to succeed. Extra languages may also be learned may also be acquired as a divine or magical favor. There's one San Francisco area mule who now speaks Japanese as a favor from a monkey god so that he could communicate with his 9 intelligence Japanese speaking master. That is pure, undiluted, awesome. I love that. You've never heard that each alignment has its own. Ken, you got to hang around here more, buddy. We got brothers and sisters. Let's hold our hands out to Ken. Let's hold our hands out to Ken. And can I get an amen where the A stands for AD&D? Because Ken, we are going to teach you. We are going to show you the way. Alignment languages, they're real. They exist. Think, if you will, something like thieves being able to communicate to each other in only a way that thieves understand. And as I've always said, alignment languages are not verbose things that let you communicate. Like, you couldn't write The Lord of the Rings in chaotic good. No, they are languages of a few syllables, gestures, a nod, a wink, enough to communicate to the person that you're in danger, that you might be of their language or their alignment, or to warn you away. We're going to help you, Ken. We're going to help you. We'll work with you, brother. And one of my own dumb clerics was given the ability to speak Where St. Bernard as a gift from a rather eccentric wizard. He hasn't found anyone else who speaks it yet, let alone Where St. Bernard's, but he's still looking. We get this awesome drawing here, some absolutely lovely cross-hatching. I think this is a drawing by Jacques there. I could be wrong, but it is quite lovely. Getting a Kansas Leftoverture vibe out of that one. Carry on, my wayward son. So much for what the D&D rules provide for. What are the implications of all this for D&D play? To begin with, let's take up the question of alignment language. Well, there you go, Ken. Aren't you glad you stayed? Hey, everybody, move. Make sure Ken's got a place up front. Come on, sit up front here, Ken. Sit up front there. Okay. To begin with, let us take up the question of alignment languages. Some groups have allowed characters to take an alien alignment language as a tongue learned by virtue of high intelligence. I myself feel that the worldview of each alignment is so different from others that speaking an alien alignment would be impossible to do perfectly and difficult to do well. In my dungeons, lawfuls or chaotics only have a 30% chance of understanding anything in the opposing tongue and a 60% chance of understanding anything neutral. They can speak the opposing tongue 40% understandably and neutral 70%. Neutrals have a 60% chance of understanding either law or chaos and a 70% chance of speaking it understandably. How far does the language ability go? One can walk with the animals, talk with the animals. One can talk to plants. Can one talk to bugs, insects smaller than a grasshopper, say? Can one talk to bacteria, stones? I've encountered one character who took wall as a language and attempted to interrogate dungeon walls as to what lay behind them. In my dungeon, the wall drunkenly replied, I don't know, I'm plastered. Oh, Lee. Oh, Lee. Why, Lee? That joke is so bad. I'm surprised I didn't say it first. To what extent are there meta-languages, the non-human equivalent of common? Can a mule understand a horse? Can a unicorn? I use an equine tongue, 70% understandable and speakable by horses, 70% by mules, to whom it sounds very aristocratic, 50% by unicorns. Similarly, there is Old Wormish, spoken by 50% of all middle-aged or older dragons who are up to speaking any language, and the great tongue spoken by 50% of all giants well enough established in the community to have a lair to live in. I also played that lycanthropes have an 80% chance of understanding common, though they cannot speak it in were form, and a 50% chance of understanding the language of the species they resemble in were form, though they cannot speak it in human form. There's a 40% chance a werewolf would speak wolf. If he does so, a 70% chance he would also speak canine. Emery says alignment languages are basically gang signs and dog whistles, plus a secret handshake and a dress code for those who can pick up on it. Exactly, Emery. Exactly. Again, you're not going to write war and peace in lawful good, but you're going to know who the lawful good people are. Can one change a language taken as an IQ ability fringe benefit? Many groups rule not. Some, however, allow an individual to learn one new language and forget the old acquired one each time he goes up a level. This seems reasonable. A first level character has more need to speak Goblin than Red Dragon, a seventh level one, the reverse. Languages can sometimes be used for other reasons than communication. I once encountered a fighter who had taken Balrog as a language for the purpose of swearing in it when annoyed. I also met two characters who used to exchange what appeared to be snide comments as the rest of the on the rest of the party in Minotaur, a language none of the rest of us spoke. The usual use of language, though, is to communicate. This is an especially vital skill to the spellcaster. A potion or device of commanding apparently carries the language ability to speak to the class of entities to be put under control, but the standard spells do not. Little can be made of a charmed or held enemy if there's no way to give him orders to or interrogate him, save through sign language. And mute phantasmal beings are always less convincing than vocal ones. The ability to speak to the party's mule or to a character's own mount may also be valuable at times. It's far easier to learn to calm such an animal if you speak his language. Learning mule can be. What is Lee's hangup with mules? How many times? Lee? Lee? Learning mule can be far cheaper way of inspiring a pack animal not to run away given the first time it meets undead than having to spend 250 gold pieces for training it or 150 for buying barding so it won't feel vulnerable. Continued on the Overleaf. No, no, not Overleaf. She's dead, Marcy. Overleaf is gone. Finally, let us look at the common tongue. Okay. Hey, if she can make a joke about a wall being plastered. Yep, Lee Gold of Alrams and Excursions. This is wacky. I love this. Finally, let us look at the common tongue. As mentioned before, the rules laid down, most humans and some 20% other creatures and monsters know it. I doubt if they speak it with the same accent or even quite the same grammar or vocabulary. West Coast fans play that most humans also have some other language of their own, such as of the one of their particular native culture. My eyes skipped down a line. Sorry. It may be a current tongue such as Japanese or French or English. It may be a subspecies like Neanderthal or Merman. It may be a tongue from legend or some fantasy or science fiction work such as Atlantean or Langmarian or Gorian. Oh, Lee, you didn't read the Gore books, did you? Oh, no. Overly. All right, now. Bow now. Da-na-na-now. Let's see. It may be a tongue from some geographical location like High Martian or Swampish or Shastan. Such people also speak common, of course. Still, dungeon-dwelling humans are apt to think in their personal tongues rather than in common, an important point for would-be telepathic eavesdroppers to keep in mind. And such personal tongues can be used to make your human character more individualized, always a good thing to strive for. What's up, Christopher Sims? Sometimes such a language characterization can pay off too. I was once in a party that encountered a formidable group of Morlocks. I think she means Morlocks. We resigned ourselves to a battle that would surely kill off most of us, but our leader, a caveman cleric of great charisma, found to her delight that she could communicate with the Morlocks in Cavish. It turned out that they were 60% mutually comprehensible, enough for her to learn they were neutrals, trekking down to a lower level of the dungeon and willing to leave us alone if we paid them tribute of all the wine we were carrying. We paid them with delight and went off to loot creatures we were more on par with. Alarums and Excursions is highly recommended for D&Ders everywhere. Editor. Wargaming World. Summer is upon us. Well, it was when this was published. And with the weather comes convention fever. Nowadays, it's just, well, I can't say that. I get kicked off YouTube. Game addicts have a number of fixes available to choose from. The language. June 4th through 6th, LA Northridge campus of Cal State. Contact Jim Blanchard, 17323 Setaskoy Street, Northridge, California, 91324. Now I kind of want to look that up on Google Maps, don't you? June 11th to 13th, Detroit's Michicon 5. Contact Bill Summers, 1654 Chandler, Lincoln Park, my 48146. June 19 to 20, MFCA Wargaming Con. Contact Jay Hadley, 918 Harry Street, Conshohocken, PA, 19428. July 2 through 4th, Bicentennial Wargaming Show, Rickenbacker Air Force Base. Contact Van Siegeling, 222 Endeloo Drive, Gahanna, Ohio, 43230. Origins 2, the second ever Origins. Origins the Deuce. Baltimore, contact Avalon Hill, 4517 Hartford Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21214. August 6th through 8th, Gahanna Con. Contact Van Siegeling above. August 20 to 22, Gen Con 9, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Contact Gary Gygax, 330 Center Street, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, 53147. Oh, we have some more ads here. We've already read Magic and Science. We'll see what's coming up next. Gen Con update. There's a Gen Con update, guys. Sorry for the squeaky. This year's Gen Con promises to be the biggest and the best ever, with over $450 in prizes, not to mention numerous trophies, ribbons, plaques, cups, etc. Anybody out there got any swag from the earliest of Gen Cons? Let me know. And I don't want to buy it or anything. I just think it's fascinating. The slate contains no less than 44 tournaments and seminars running the gamut of board games, miniatures, and role-playing games. The mammoth D&D miniatures game. Interesting. They say D&D miniatures game. Very interesting. Still thought of as a war game as late as 1976. On the cusp of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons being released. It's covered elsewhere in this issue, but herewith is a listing of some of the more unusual events. At this year's convention, the Fight in the Skies Society will hold its semi-annual Masters game. This game, open by invitation only, pits the finest FITS players in the nation against each other in a single 10-player game. At stake for the winner is an engraved silver cup reminiscent of the engraved cups awarded to German pilots in World War I. For those with a racing spirit in their blood, Saturday evening will feature the giant 4 hours of Le Mans simulation. This large-scale race will be in an enlarged and expanded version of Avalon Hill's classic Le Mans game. The game will run approximately 4 hours as an endurance test, just as the actual Le Mans race runs a full 24 hours. Up to 18 cars may compete, and if there is sufficient interest, it is envisioned that up to 36 players may take part, 2 per racing team. This will allow driver changes just as in real life in order to create as much of the actual feel of the event as possible. In addition, there will be special rules for such other aspects as mechanical troubles, driver skills, and more. Organizer and judge for the game is Mike Carr. Was that on purpose, Mike? Mike Carr does the 4 hours of Le Mans. Mike Carr did something else kind of interesting, which if you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There will be seminars by Fritz Oh, be still my heart. Fritz Leiber was at Gen Con 9, guys. The Fritz Leiber. And by M.A.R. Barker, and a D&D seminar by Gygax, Arneson, and Kuntz. There will also be competition for the best organized integral units of miniatures to be judged by Gene McCoy, editor of Wargames Digest. Anyone wishing a full list of events, times, prizes, etc. should write to Gary Gygax, 330 Center Street, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, 53147. The program will also contain a listing of lodgings, restaurants, etc. See you there, August 20 and 21, 2021 and 22nd, 1976. What a host of fun that sounds like. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to set that aside. I'm going to look at some of your chats here. I'll see if there's any super chats that I might have missed. Love letter to Blibdul Pulp is only comprehensible in Aquan and is impossible to translate without 61 words for water, 28 words for silt and muck, and 25 words for briny. That sounds like it comes from a place of knowledge, so I'm gonna go with you. Rogue Scholar says confusion is my best skill. Robert, yes, driving through Lake Geneva during the summer harder than Le Mans. Absolutely. Because half the cars are from Florida and I'm from here and I know. Mule is a pigeon mix of horse and dog. You guys can see the comments. You don't need me to read them. I'm reading them. I'm 13 and 76. Yeah, you got a couple of years on me, Ken. I'm 53 in a couple of weeks. So you got a couple of years on me. Welcome to those who just joined up on the Discord. So let's see. Oh, we're back at the 1479. Thank you, person who left, for coming back. I love you. I do. I love all of you guys. I do this for you guys, but before I crossed the threshold of 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, I said, and I mean it now, if I had one sub on my YouTube channel, if one person, even if they weren't subscribed, if one person showed up in the chats every night and said, this makes me feel happy, please keep doing your live streams, I will sit here and listen, I would do it because I care about you guys. Because you're gamers like me, you're freaks, you're weirdos, you're strange, just like me. And we are just like each other, and that makes us brothers and sisters. We're a fraternity. We are an order of people who want to escape. And Professor Tolkien said, "Is it not the first duty of the prisoner to wish to escape?" It's why things like adventure modules, where you imagine yourself as nothing more than a barista, just, I find that soul crushing. I find that sad. But I care about you guys, and I care about this hobby. If I didn't, well, I wouldn't do this 5 nights a week and 3 live stream games a week and interstitial live videos. I'm no singer, so I'm just going to say these lyrics, but think of Dogs, or I'm sorry, Pigs on the Wing 1 by Pink Floyd. If I didn't care for you and you didn't care for me, we would zigzag our way through the boredom and pain, occasionally glancing up through the rain, wondering which of the buggers to blame, and watching for pigs on the wing. But we do care for each other. That's why we do this. That's why I do this. I'm never going to get rich or famous doing it. Nobody's ever going to laud me with great accolades. That's not the point. The point is hanging together and doing something we love and not having a bunch of corporate shills take it away from us. We want you to enjoy Dungeons. No, you don't. No, you don't, Wizards of the Coast. You scurrilous, lying sons of bitches. You don't want anything but money. Money and more money. That's all you care about. Wizards of the Coast stated on their website that they are the ones who invented Dungeons and Dragons. As if. And they sit there and they tell you that you're, your thinking isn't right. That the D&D that you love, this and this, are wrong, and that you're sick in the head, and that you're no longer accepted. And then they get an attack dog at a PBS to say, yes, they are sick in the head. They're not allowed to be part of the hobby anymore. Those OSR gamers, they're screwed up. We're going to fix the game so they're excluded. And there are people lining up and cheering them on. We don't have to put up with that. So my brothers and my sisters who play any version of D&D that you like, let's stand shoulder to shoulder with each other. And it's not about the OSR, and it's not about old grognards like me, old white-haired grognards like me. It isn't about that. It's about control. What D&D do you want to play? Do you want to play a D&D of dice and friends and pizza and beer and wine and sodas and laughing and painting minis and driving to somebody's house and gathering 6 people into your car and saying, come on, we're going over to Dave's. He's got this killer dungeon on 2 card tables, and he made his terrain out of plasterboard, and he's got all these cool miniatures? Or is it doing this and staring at a mobile phone and paying 99 cents so you can press the I win button? D&D is in here, and it's in here, and it's in these books. It's not in a mobile phone, and it's not in a pay-to-win app. But that's all Wizards of the Coast wants now. They've laid their cards out on the table, and they think they hold all the aces. Well, they've got a couple of aces, but I see a couple of 8s there too. And you know what that is? Fight like hell. fight like hell. Tell Wizards of the Coast, you're not putting up with this. I have a book that I'm working on with Tracy Lesh. I created the Mind Flayer Tracy Lesh. Tracy was there at the birth of original D&D Lesh. My friend and I, a guy who was kind enough to see me as just a beaming fanboy and say, hey, you're pretty cool, and hang out with me. My buddy Tracy Lesh and I are creating something that's going to be great. And you can use it with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be damned if I am going to belly crawl to Wizards of the Coast and beg their permission to publish it. I'll hand photocopy every page and staple it together and mail it to people before I will put a single goddamn syllable of that OGL 1.1 in it to get their permission. I'm not letting a bunch of people who literally didn't know what Dungeons and Dragons was 10 years ago run me out of my own hobby and take away my ability to share it with people. I'll sell blood plasma, I'll sell a kidney, I'll sell a cornea to get the legal backing to fight them if I have to. Remember what I said at the beginning of this stream. Mimeographed copies, early photocopied copies, hand-typed copies, handwritten copies of OD&D rules in players' hands. Do you know what TSR's reaction was? Thank goodness our game is growing. And they joyfully signed off on every single one when people brought them for corrections and consultation. I've never been tempted to punch somebody through the internet today, but somebody on that Gizmodo article went off in the comments about what an awful, awful person they thought Gary Gygax was. I'm not going to go off on a defend Gary polemic because I've said before he was a lot more complicated than Nerd Santa Claus. But those guys loved games and they loved gamers. They were us. And that's what made D&D great. They weren't Microsoft executives looking to better monetize. Dungeons and Dragons is ours and it belongs to us. Fight for it. Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to be able to in a few years. They'll quietly shut down all of the servers holding all of the classic PDFs. And when we're gone, and folks, I'm turning 53 in a few weeks. All right. The last time I checked, that means older, not younger. When we're gone. That's it. The Against the Giants, the Tombs of Horrors, the expeditions to the Barrier Peaks, the Lost Caverns of Soj-Konth, they're all gone with us. We can either let that crumble to dust and let our kids be subservient pod dwellers who just throw out all of grandpa's old stacks of useless papers. Or we can make this last like it should. We can make this last like it should. And I know a lot of you might say, well, what about, look, I know people talk about alternate game systems with kindness. You know, oh, well, just play this instead. Guys, I love Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition above anything else. Saying, well, why not OSE? Why not Mörk Borg? Why? I only want First Edition AD&D or original D&D or basic D&D. I don't want something else. Nothing hits like it. And if you don't understand why, we'll do another live stream about the why of AD&D at another time if you can't understand it. So hold on to that. Hold on to it as tight as you can. And get up in these people's faces at conventions. Tell them you're not going to take this from them. The Buffalo Thunder of 10,000 angry gamers coming through the exhibit hall at Gen Con can be a frightening thing if we do it right. And that's what I want you guys to do. I don't want you to be ugly. I don't want you to yell obscenities. I want you to just scream at functionaries in game stores. That's not going to get you anywhere. All you're going to do is prove that hatchet job article right. Put it on a few flash drives, John. But guys, if we don't stand up for this, nobody's going to. There are people gleefully happy about this, I am sure. All right. You go look at the people who are writing articles, you know, like how to make the best optimized monk for D&D, 10 steps on, you know, joystick.com. They couldn't give a damn about us. I remember that book. Emery. I've held it in my hands. I wish I'd bought it. Guys, there's an, and see that this I think is their problem. In these books and in your head, there's an infinite universe of possibilities. I said last night, and I've said before, I want to run the GDQ modules for my group. But guys, if I never, ever, ever ran a published module and I lived to be 1,000 and could keep enough people interested, my group lived for 1,000 years too, I never run out of new tricks and ideas to throw to them. Which means I never need Wizards of the Coast. I want you to think about how sinister it is that they're trying to stop that. They literally want to put fetters on your imagination and your creativity. Make you think you can't think for yourself. That's what they want to do. That's why they're doing this. You can't come up with an adventure on your own. You can't run a campaign for 5 years. Campaigns only go for 6 sessions. And then you're done. Then you do something else. Start a new campaign. You're going to run Curse of the Quest for the Dragon Queen, Curse of Strahd. That's it. That's all you're going to do. And we say that it is because we published the books. The books, the digital files, which will expire unless you pay for them every month. I'm an atavism in the system, and so are you guys. We're a poison in their veins. Do you understand that? They're desperate to be rid of us, to find a cure for the common grognard. And we can't let them latch onto the walls and hold on throughout blood changes and antibiotics. And fight like hell. We were the ones who were picked on, who were put upon, who were laughed at, who were subject to physical and psychological abuse from friends and family for what we love, the devil's game. And when we finally clawed our way out of that shadow, when we finally looked around and people were looking at us going, that's actually pretty cool. Here comes Wizards of the Coast with the leg irons and a nice sharp collar to put on our necks. Are you going to let them do that? I'm not. And you shouldn't either. What came down today from Wizards of the Coast is arguably one of the most awful things I've ever seen a hobby company do. And I have seen some scurrilous behavior from the likes of Palladium. I know you guys are fond of Palladium. There's some people out there anyway who are fond of Palladium, and you think of Kevin Simbada as some kind of, iconoclast. Games Workshop. Yes, at this point, Wizards are worse than Games Workshop. We got to carry that fire, guys. I mean, you see these guys make statements on social media and they leave an email for feedback. Let them have it. You can link them to this video. You can link them to my channel. You can send them my email. Tell them to subscribe to the channel and send me a super chat if they want to say something in contravention to what I'm saying. Emery, I love that metal image. I bet Hasbro ends up selling WotC to Meta or something and goes back to selling nostalgia plastic to divorce Gen X Dennis and fill their third getaway condo with. Yeah, probably. Now, listen. There is something else I want you guys to think of too. Anyone who says that they're too big to fall, anyone who thinks that they're too big to fall, that they can't be made to collapse. Imagine being an Atari enthusiast, an Atari watcher in like 1979, 1980, even 81, 82. Commodore. You don't think that mega corporations can fall in a short period of time? Commodore went from the leading computer company in the mid-1980s to bankrupt in 8 years. Non-existent, chopped up, and sold off. It can happen to Hasbro. It can happen to anybody. So I'm going to open it up. Anybody got anything, any questions, any comments on this? Anything you want to ask me? Anything at all? I'll give it to you for a few more minutes. Tomorrow night. So tomorrow, the first Tale of Table Trump. Shouldn't have guzzled that wine. Tabletop Triumph videos drops. That's coming tomorrow, and I'm real excited about it. I hope you guys like it. I've been trying to figure out what like video to have playing behind it as the text is on the screen. And I shot a bunch of Doom footage today. I'm like, I'll just do this and I'll have it as the play video as the text is on the screen. I was playing Brutal Doom. Doom itself is really violent, but I was playing Brutal Doom and, you know, guys getting blown into bloody hunks and that sort of thing as I'm talking about this very positive time. So I may find something or some kind of slideshow or something going on in the background. But it will definitely come out tomorrow. Tales of Tabletop Triumph. #1 drops tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. Tomorrow night, after a preamble show, when we scramble and we find more stuff, so, you know, if we find out more tomorrow as this disaster unfolds in front of us, I'll be there with any updates for you guys. I'm not going anywhere tomorrow. I'll be right here at the house. There's a few guests I want to have on. One of them, like I said, give me a little bit of hope and discussion, but I don't want to give away anything just yet. But I'm looking forward to having them on real soon. Tomorrow night, we are playing Gamma World again. That will be myself, of course, GMing. I will be GMing Classic Gamma World, which the people have spoken, by the way. So it looks like we are going to be doing miniatures for Classic Gamma World. I will be 3D printing some miniatures. We have a mini for. Let me see if I can get this to show up. I'm not sure if this will zoom in, but we had a character. She's a synth, so basically, essentially a human. Think like the androids from Blade Runner. Let me see if I can get this to come up here, guys. But this is the mini that I have crafted. Well, I used Hero Forge for 4077, the synth medic in the party. Let me see if I can. That will. Gonna focus. There we go. Nope. Oh well. I'll try and get that to look better. Anyway, so yeah, the minis, we won't start using the minis straight away tomorrow. I've heard of it, Dungeon Minister, but I've never seen it. Wave of Mutilation, we're about to say goodnight. I'm sorry, brother. But anyway, yeah, so we'll be doing some cool science fiction minis for different characters for the Gamma World game. It is the wrap-up wave. I'm sorry. No, the word is halar. See if I can do this without screwing something up. So yeah, we'll be playing some classic Gamma World tomorrow. We are moving towards doing Gamma World with minis and terrain. Um, and then we'll be back Monday. We'll see what the weekend brings. Probably not much. If I hear any more from my source, I'll let you guys know on the Discord. Follow me on Twitter at @AN_Dungeon Delver. Of course, if you're here, you're probably subbed to the YouTube channel. If you're not, please click the subscription button and the bell icon. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Give it a thumbs down if you don't. Um, And you can support us if you'd like on Subscribestar or Patreon or PayPal Direct, or you can buy me a coffee. The crab has been pointing to all of those down there. He's been very patient, pointing down for you guys to find that. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up by saying something that I say every night because it is 100% true. And that is this simply: I love you all. You are all decent people, wonderful people. And I am going to see you all very soon. So take care of each other. Peace.